When a mysterious stranger appears at Maya's late-night tailor shop with torn designer clothes and desperate eyes, she thinks it's just another emergency repair job. But Ethan Cross isn't just any client. He's harboring deadly secrets that will shatter everything Maya thought she knew about her past. Hey there, romance lovers. Tonight, we dive into a world where every choice has a cost and every moment matters. Shall we step into it? Rain hammered against the cracked windows of Maya Chen's cramped apartment above the laundromat. The smell of industrial detergent mixed with the musty odor of old fabric filled the air as she hunched over her ancient sewing machine, the needle catching the dim light from a single bare bulb. Her fingers moved with practiced precision despite the tremor that had developed since the accident 6 months ago. The door chimed downstairs. Maya glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. No one came this late unless they were desperate. She descended the narrow stairs, her leg brace clicking against each step. Through the fogged glass, she could make out a tall figure in an expensive coat, water dripping from his dark hair. "We're closed," she called through the door. "Please." His voice was rough, edged with something that might have been panic. "I need help." Maya hesitated. The smart thing would be to send him away. But something in his tone made her fingers move to the deadbolt. The man who stepped inside was beautiful in the way that broken things sometimes were. His designer suit was torn at the shoulder, blood seeping through the white fabric. His green eyes held a wildness that Maya recognized because she saw it in her own mirror every morning. "I'm Ethan Cross," he said, pressing his hand against his shoulder. "I know this looks bad, but I'm not dangerous. I just need someone to fix this." He gestured to his torn jacket. Tonight, Maya studied his face. She'd learned to read people in the months since everything fell apart. This man was running from something, but he wasn't lying about being harmless. "It'll cost extra." "For emergency work?" she said finally. "Money isn't a problem." He reached into his pocket with his good arm and pulled out a roll of bills that made Maya's breath catch. "How much?" $500. He didn't blink. "Done." As Maya led him to the back room where she kept her supplies, she noticed how his eyes swept every corner, cataloging exits. When he removed his jacket, she saw the wound wasn't deep, but the way he moved suggested he was familiar with being hurt. "What happened?" she asked, threading her needle. "Business meeting went sideways." His jaw tightened. "Turns out, not everyone appreciates honest negotiations." Maya began to work, her damaged hands steadier than they'd been in months. The silence stretched between them, comfortable despite its weight. She was aware of him watching her, not in the way men usually looked at her since the scars, but with something approaching reverence. "You're good at this," he said quietly. "I used to be better." The words slipped out before she could stop them. What changed? Maya's hands stilled. The accident, the fire, her partner's betrayal, the loss of everything she'd worked for. Life. Ethan leaned forward slightly. "Maybe life isn't finished with you yet." The needle slipped, pricking her finger. A drop of blood fell onto the expensive fabric, and Maya cursed under her breath. But when she looked up, Ethan was staring at the small red stain with an expression she couldn't read. "Perfect," he whispered. "What?" "Nothing." He stood abruptly, pulling on the repaired jacket. "Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow night." "For what?" Ethan paused at the door, his hand on the frame. "I think I'm going to need more than just my clothes fixed." After he left, Maya stood in the empty shop, her heart beating faster than it had in months. She looked down at her blood-stained finger, then at the money he'd left on the counter. Twice what she'd asked for. Outside, lightning split the sky, and Maya realized that for the first time since the accident, she wasn't thinking about the past. True to his word, Ethan returned the next night. This time he brought 3 more torn garments and an intensity that filled Maya's small shop like smoke. "Rough day?" Maya asked, examining a shirt with what looked suspiciously like knife cuts. "Rough year." Ethan settled into the old leather chair she kept for customers, but his posture remained alert, ready. "What about you? Why are you working alone at midnight in a neighborhood where most people are afraid to walk?" Maya's fingers found the fabric's torn edges. Not much left to be afraid of when you've already lost everything. Try me. She looked up sharply. There was something in his voice that suggested he understood loss in ways most people didn't. I used to design for celebrities. Had a boutique in Soho, a business partner I trusted with my life. The words came easier in the dim light. Then she decided my half of the company was worth more than our friendship. She stole from you. Worse, she burned down my studio with me in it. Maya's scarred hands trembled slightly as she held up the fabric, made it look like an accident. By the time I got out of the hospital, she'd already filed the insurance claims and dissolved our partnership, took everything, including my reputation. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. What was her name? Why? Because people who destroy. Others should be remembered. Something in his tone made Maya's blood chill. Ethan, what exactly do you do for work? Instead of answering, he stood and moved to where she was working. These aren't random tears, are they? She continued, holding up his shirt. Someone was trying to hurt you, not trying, succeeding. He lifted his shirt slightly, revealing a fresh bandage over his ribs. The question is whether I let them finish the job. Maya's breath caught. You're in some kind of trouble, kind that doesn't go away. Ethan's eyes met hers, the kind that ruins everything it touches. I should leave and never come back. But you won't. No, I won't. He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with the metallic scent of recent violence. Because for the first time in 3 years, I'm sitting somewhere that feels like peace. Maya's hands stilled on the fabric. What did you do to need peace? What I had to... Ethan's voice dropped to almost a whisper. What I'm probably going to have to do again. The shop fell silent except for the rain against the windows. Us. Maya realized she should be afraid, but instead she felt a strange recognition. They were both survivors, both carrying wounds that hadn't quite healed. The woman who betrayed you, Ethan said suddenly. Victoria Sterling? Maya's blood froze. How do you know that name? Ethan's expression went carefully blank. It's a blot. Small world in Manhattan business circles? No. Maya stepped back, her mind racing. No, that's not coincidence. You know her. How do you know her? For a moment, something that might have been guilt flashed across Ethan's face. Then it was gone, replaced by that familiar, careful mask. Ethan. Maya's voice was deadly quiet. How do you know Victoria Sterling? The silence stretched between them like a tightrope. Finally, Ethan spoke, his words falling like stones. Because she hired me to find you. The measuring tape slipped from Maya's numb fingers, hitting the floor with a soft whisper. Get out. Her voice was barely audible, but the words cut through. The air like shattered glass. Maya, let me explain. Get out. She grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy pair of shears, and Ethan raised his hands in surrender. She doesn't know I found you. I never reported back. You're lying. But even as she said it, Maya could see the truth in his eyes. It's a genuine surprise when she'd mentioned Victoria's name. It's the way his expression had shuddered when he realized his mistake. Sit down, Ethan said quietly. Please, let me tell you what she told me. Against every instinct, Maya remained standing, shears still clutched in her scarred hands. 6 months ago, Victoria Sterling came to my office, said she was looking for her former business partner who'd disappeared after a fire. Claimed she was worried, wanted to make sure you were okay. Ethan's jaw tightened. She offered me $50,000 to find you, and you took it. I took the job. But when I started digging into the fire, into the insurance claims, into the timing of everything, he met her eyes. Maya, she didn't just steal from you. She tried to kill you. The shears clattered to the floor as Maya's legs gave out. She sank into her work chair, the weight of confirmation crushing her chest. The fire wasn't an accident, Ethan continued, his voice gentle despite the horror of his words. She had someone tamper with the electrical system in your studio. You were supposed to die that night. Why? The word came out as a broken whisper. Because you found out about her other business. The money laundering through fake fashion contracts. The shell companies. You were getting too close to exposing everything. Maya's mind reeled. remembered the financial discrepancies she'd discovered in the weeks before the fire. The strange payments to vendors that didn't exist. Victoria's increasingly secretive behavior. She thinks you're dead, Ethan said. The hospital records, your new identity, moving here. You did a good job disappearing. Then why did she hire you? 'Cause 3 weeks ago, someone started asking questions about the fire. Someone with enough influence to reopen the investigation. Ethan's expression darkened. She's panicking. Wants to make sure you stay disappeared? Room spun around Maya. You're working for a woman who tried to murder me? Ethan stepped closer, his movements careful and deliberate. Until I met you. This is insane. Maya struggled to stand, her damaged legs screaming in protest. You expect me to trust you? Yeah, you've been lying to me since the moment you walked in here? Yes. The simple admission stopped her cold. I've been lying about why I came here. Everything else, everything I felt, everything I said about you, about this place. His voice cracked slightly. That was real. Maya stared at him, searching his face for deception. But all she saw was a man who looked as lost as she felt. Wait. Happens now? She asked. That depends. Ethan pulled out his phone, showing her a text message. Victoria's name at the top, dated an hour ago. She wants a progress report. I can tell her I found nothing and close the case, or I can tell her exactly where you are. The threat hung between them like a blade. Maya realized that despite everything, despite the lies and the impossible situation, she didn't believe he would betray her. Not after the way he'd looked at her while she worked, not after the way he'd spoken about peace. There's a third option, she said quietly. Is. Maya picked up the shears from the floor, testing their weight in her palm. We make her pay for what she did to me. For the first time since he'd confessed, Ethan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Now you're speaking my language. Pulled off his jacket, revealing fresh bruises along his collarbone. Know something else first. Victoria Sterling isn't just a thief and a would-be murderer. What else could she possibly be? She's my sister. Maya's world tilted. The shears slipped from her grasp again, this time embedding point first in the wooden floor between them. Sister? She repeated, the word tasting like poison. Half-sister? Ethan's voice was steady, but she could see the storm behind his eyes. Same father, different mothers. Different last names. She doesn't know I took the job. This is sick. Maya backed away until she hit the wall. You're both sick. Victoria destroyed my mother. The words came out like broken glass. Convinced our father that Mom was stealing from his company. Had her arrested, prosecuted, imprisoned. Mom died of a heart attack in county jail while Victoria inherited everything. Maya's anger warred with a growing understanding. So you became what? Some kind of vigilante? I became someone who solves problems for people who can't solve them themselves. Ethan pulled the shears from the floor, setting them carefully on the cutting table. Rich people with inconvenient enemies. Powerful people who need evidence to disappear. I'm very good at making problems go away, including me. That was the plan. His voice dropped, till I realized Victoria hadn't just stolen from you. She'd stolen from dozens of other women. Small business owners, artists, people who trusted her. He met Maya's eyes. People like my mother. The rain outside had turned vicious, lashing against the windows like accusations. Maya could barely think over the sound of her own heartbeat. Why should I believe anything you say? 'Cause I'm about to prove it. Ethan pulled out his phone and dialed. The call connected on the second ring. Victoria. Cross. I found her. Maya could hear Victoria's voice through the speaker, sharp with triumph. Where? Lower East Side. Running a small alteration shop. She's been using the name Maya Chen. Ethan's eyes never left Maya's face as he spoke. But there's a problem. What kind of problem? She kept records, hidden them before the fire. Bank statements, financial documents, recordings of your conversations. Everything. The silence on the other end stretched taut. When Victoria spoke again, her voice had gone deadly quiet. Where are these records? That's what I'm working on. But, Victoria, if these surface, you're looking at federal charges. RICO violations. Attempted murder. How much does she want? Ethan's smile was predatory. She doesn't want money. She wants you to confess, publicly, to everything. That's not happening. Then we have a problem, because tomorrow morning, she's planning to walk into the FBI field office with everything she has. Maya watched in fascination as Ethan spun his web of lies with the same precision she used to stitch fabric. But beneath her admiration was a growing terror. If he could lie this smoothly to his own sister, what had he been lying to her about? Handle it, Victoria said finally. Permanently. Victoria, I don't do that kind of work anymore. You do now. $5 million, Ethan. Clean this up, and we're both free. The line went dead. Ethan pocketed his phone and turned to Maya, whose face had gone pale. Did she just order you to kill me? She did. You're going to do it? Ethan was quiet for so long that Maya began to edge toward the back exit. When he finally spoke, his words stopped her cold. No, but she's going to think I did. He moved to the window, checking the street below. Maya, we need to disappear. Tonight she'll send someone else when I don't check in tomorrow. Run away? That's your plan? Unless you have a better idea. Maya looked around her shop at the life she'd built from nothing after losing everything. At the machines that had kept her sane, the work that had given her purpose, the thought of running again, of starting over somewhere else, made her want to scream. Actually, she said slowly, I do have a better idea, which is we don't run from Victoria Sterling. Maya picked up her phone and began scrolling through old contacts. We destroy her completely. Maya, you don't understand what you're saying. Victoria has resources, connections, people who what? Kill for money? Maya found the number she was looking for and held up her phone. So do I. Ethan stared at her. Who are you calling? My insurance investigator from the fire, the one who never believed it was an accident. Maya's finger hovered over the call button. The one who told me that if I ever found proof of what really happened, he'd make sure justice was served. Maya, this is dangerous. If Victoria realizes we're working together, then we'd better make sure she doesn't find out. Maya pressed call, and the phone began to ring, at least not until it's too late. As the investigator's voicemail picked up, Maya began to speak, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was setting in motion. Behind her, Ethan listened with growing alarm to her detailed message about new evidence in the Sterling Tech fire case. When she hung up, the silence was deafening. You just declared war on one of the most powerful women in New York, Ethan said finally. No, Maya turned to face him, and he saw something in her expression that made his chest tighten with both fear and admiration. We just declared war. The question is, are you with me, or are you still working for your sister? The FBI field office buzzed with controlled chaos as Agent Morrison spread the evidence across the conference table. 3 weeks of careful orchestration had led to this moment. Bank records, audio recordings, photographic evidence, and Ethan's testimony painted a devastating picture of Victoria Sterling's criminal empire. Maya sat in the witness chair, her hands folded carefully in her lap to hide their trembling. Through the one-way glass, she could see Victoria in the adjacent room, still wearing her designer armor, but looking smaller somehow. Diminished. Miss Chen. Agent Morrison said, we need you to confirm one more detail. When Mr. Cross approached. Did you know he was working for Miss Sterling? No. Maya's voice was steady, but I knew he was dangerous. Why didn't you call the police? Maya glanced toward the glass, knowing Ethan was somewhere in the building, probably in another room being debriefed. Because sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones you need to save you. 3 hours later, Maya emerged from the federal building into the crisp November air. Victoria Sterling was in custody, facing charges that would put her away for decades. The investigation had uncovered 12 other victims, 23 shell companies, and enough evidence to dismantle her entire operation. But Maya felt empty, rather than triumphant. She found Ethan waiting by her car, his face unreadable in the streetlight's glow. It's over, he said. Is it? Maya studied his face. Your sister's going to prison because of us. My sister tried to kill you, among other things. Ethan's jaw tightened. She made her choice a long time ago. And what's your choice? Maya asked. What happens to the man who makes problems disappear when the biggest problem is solved? Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his breath visible in the cold air. Don't know. For 3 years, revenge was the only thing keeping me going. Now, I keep thinking about what you said. About not being afraid when you've already lost everything. He stepped closer. What if instead of losing everything, you found something you didn't know you were looking for? Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. What are you saying? I'm saying I could disappear again. New name, new city, clean slate, or... He reached out tentatively, his fingers barely brushing her scarred hand. I could stay and learn how to fix things instead of breaking them. Ethan, Maya's voice caught. I don't know how to trust again. I don't know if I can. Then we'll figure it out together. One stitch at a time. Maya looked up at this man who had entered her life as an enemy and become something she couldn't. Named someone who had seen her scars and called them beautiful. Someone who had chosen her over blood, over money, over everything he'd known before. I have conditions, she said finally. Name them. No more lies ever. If we do this, if we try this, you tell me everything. The good, the bad, the parts that scare you. Deal. Ethan's smile was tentative but real. What else? You learn to sue properly. If you're going to be in my life, you're going to understand my work. I can live with that. Maya felt something that had been frozen inside her chest begin to thaw. And Ethan, the next time you need something fixed, you don't tear at first just to have an excuse to see me. How did you know? The cuts in your clothes were too precise. To clean, you cut them yourself. Maya stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. You could have just knocked on my door. I didn't know how to ask for what I needed. What did you need? Ethan's hand found her face, his thumb tracing. The line of scar tissue along her jaw, someone who understood that being broken doesn't make you worthless. When he kissed her, Maya tasted rain and redemption and the strange sweetness of a future she'd never dared to imagine. Around them, the city hummed with its endless rhythm of destruction and renewal. But in this moment, she felt something she'd thought was lost forever. Hope. 6 months later, the sign above the shop read Rivera and Chen, bespoke tailoring and investigations. Through the large window, Asusbi could see a woman with scarred hands teaching a man with careful eyes how to thread a needle. They worked in comfortable silence, creating something beautiful from the broken pieces of what came before. And sometimes late at night, when the shop was closed and the city slept, they would tell each other stories about the people they used to be and the people they were becoming together. The end.